tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
If sometimes you see that I'm mad.
Hi guys, thanks so much for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Tonight we'll be discussing Season 1, Episode 9 of Shades of Blue, called Live Wire Act. I'm your host, Samantha Benitez. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. And to my left are my awesome co-hosts, Mira Jennings.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Mira Jennings.
Erica J. Green.
That's Erica J. Green at all social media, Jaye.
And of course, Brandon Marlowe.
Hello, sitting in a different seat today, but you can still find me on Twitter and Instagram at BAMARLO.
Sorry about the jam out, had to let it go for a little bit before we got started, but of course, tonight was a crazy episode, but we're not going to start talking about it until we do a little recap, so we'll let our girl take it from here.
Yep, let's get going. So, last week, after Saperstein's death, Harley realizes that Waz will literally stop at nothing to kill that rat. And she is not trying to wait and see if she will be next in line. So she decides to go ahead and tell Stahl about her situation with Miguel Cepeda, her abusive ex, in exchange for completely going full, fledged after Waz. So basically she will wear a wire and do whatever it takes to bring down Waz, as long as Stahl kind of protects her with her situation with Miguel. Meanwhile, the crew retaliates against a pair of abusive, corrupt cops who actually beat Christina's boyfriend, and they got that on video. So that was a nice little commentary on, our current events in society. Mm-hmm. So that was very nicely done, Shades of Blue writers. Stahl also informed the ADA Nava, our little man candy Nava, about Harley's involvement with Miguel Cepeda, and that she might actually be using Nava for her own benefit and not really in love with him. So that was a little shady on Stahl's behalf. Nothing we haven't seen before. Always expected from Stahl. Waz makes Loman feel like he's a part of the family, which is great to see, because we all thought, well, we did not all think, but some of us thought Loman would be dead by now. But he's still trucking along, and now he's becoming a part of the family, which is great to see. And at the end, we got a little preview of tonight's crazy episode. We saw something would be in the trunk, and there's a lot of action, so that's where we left off.
Very well done. And it is very true. This episode was absolutely bananas, honestly, from beginning to the end. And I think a lot was leading up. Last episodes, we were kind of waiting for the climactic moment, which I felt like it was delivered tonight, but I feel like next week's going to be even crazier, if that's possible. Yeah. So before we even dig a little deeper, let's talk about some comments and tweets that happen on ABTV's YouTube section.
Well, people are commenting like usual, and one person who has been really diligent with commenting every week is Drown Deep, and they're always a really full response, so this is why we keep picking these. So if you guys are commenting, if you give us a lot to talk about, we'll try and pick those comments.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Drown Deep says, Waz barely gets any love because he's the heavy, but they're going to give him an Emmy nomination because he is twisted. I've never seen this on television where the supposed good guy is killing it. No pun intended. It was interesting when we saw Waz go to confide in his wife because she already knew everything that he was doing, and it's not on the up and up, which is very true. But it's good for her that she has some sort of intuition, which, being married to the man who has a lot of secrets, that's kind of an interesting aspect because we haven't seen a lot of their relationship yet. Yeah. And then Sarah Jeffrey, who plays Christina, she tweeted and says, "Nothing's worse than being embarrassed by mama."
Ain't that right? They go in.
Right. Good thing Harley means well. At Shades of Blue, hashtag Shades of Blue and J-Lo, which I think their relationship's so cute on screen, and I bet off screen they have a pretty good relationship too.
She seems like
you can tell they vibe, and she's totally referring to the fact that Harley kind of called her out and saw her daughter smoking pot on video and kissing her boyfriend, and of course is going to have her own opinions about what her young daughter's doing late at night and getting into trouble, of course, with other cops that are outside of their precinct, making work a little bit more difficult for them. But hey, it's all in a day for these cops, right? So let's start talking about episode 9, which today we began with Sapersteen's funeral. Very sad. You saw Harley getting a little emotional, shedding a tear. Do you feel like she was actually sad about it? And how did you guys also think about the way Waz was reacting to it as well?
I was surprised about Waz's reaction. I got out of this episode that he was really torn up about this, which was not really what I was feeling before. I thought he was just, gotta do what I gotta do. But we see him kind of break down and he's depressed and laying on the dirt and all of that. So I didn't expect that from him. Did you guys think?
I don't know if he was fully breaking down because what he did or just because the magnitude of everything coming down on him. He probably is figuring out now that this is way over his head. Even he can't handle this. So I don't know, it might be a mixture of things. I just don't trust Waz. So I have no good things to say about Waz.
I kind of agree with you. I think it's the cumulative of what's happening, and now his conscience is catching up with him. And I think that there's a lot that he's dealing with internally, and we see a lot of that happen externally with him being so forceful with Sap and that final scene where he pushes him off the building. I think there's just so much happening and so much at stake that we see a lot transpiring with Waz.
Very true. And we see him kind of laying on the grass there. Was that near Sapersteen's grave?
Yeah, that's what I took from it.
Yeah, right? I felt like his conscience is starting to eat away at him, which also was addressed later. Molly Chen says conscience tends to act up after murder, which is a very true point. Obviously, this man he has a lot on his plate. So now seeing one of his officers dead and slain because of his actions, that's a reflection of him and his precinct. So after this, you see Harley kind of get involved with Stahl furthermore, and she wants to wear a wire at this point. So pretty much she decides to put the necklace on once again, and she looks at herself in the mirror and says, "You are not him," talking about Waz, basically. She is not going to take his fall for this. She was not responsible, and so she wants to take action and nip it in the bud, it seems like. So how do you guys feel about Harley's involvement with Stahl so far? Do you think she's going to continue working for him, or will it switch down the line when things get a little bit crazier?
I was looking at that scene and I thought it was interesting the way she uses her womanly, her woman
Yes.
to manipulate him. You see she does the eyes and stuff like that. She gets close to every guy that walks into the room. I'm like, I'm not mad at you, girl. Use what you got to get what you want. She's still trying to make sure that Zepeda doesn't get out, and that's her ultimate goal, is protecting her and her family. As always, Harley's looking out for number one, which is herself. But I just found it interesting how I think Stahl is crazy. Number one.
Yeah.
Though you could tell by the way he's looking at her and everything. I don't know how much longer their relationship right now, it's on good terms, it's gonna last. But I'm interested to see what's their outcome, because I don't think it's gonna be what he wants.
Right.
To get in them draws.
Delusional men.
That is so funny
with that.
that you address that, because of course Stahl mentioned later to Molly Chen also that Harley likes protective men. So that's why I'm treating her the way I am. So do you guys think that's true? Funny. Of course he's utilizing that a little bit, we've seen.
Oh yeah.
I think that we're gonna see more of their relationship.
Right.
And this was the first time in this season that I've felt something for Stahl that was not discussed or
annoyance.
Right. And it's because I don't know if he's really changing, because he sees she has good intentions and she kind of got wrapped up in a bad situation, and so now maybe his guard's coming down a little bit, her guard's coming down a little bit. But it would be interesting to see them trying to help each other in a more positive and constructive way, I guess.
I don't know. I don't know if we're going to talk about this later, so sorry if I'm jumping the gun.
Go for it.
I think Stahl is headed for a disaster because Molly is not having his stuff anymore. We saw that. She's on her own path right now. She's not really into his direction anymore, and she's a smart woman. She is in charge, and she doesn't want to, she doesn't know what he's doing. He's wanting to ignore the Miguel Zepeda situation, and she's like, no, that's kind of important, so I'm going to go ahead and take care of this while you're fantasizing about Harley over there. So I give Molly Chen props. I like her. I think you don't like her. I like Molly Chen. She's headstrong.
No. As a person, as that character, Molly Chen, she's handling her business, trying to stay on the straight and narrow, which everyone else is veered off from. But to kind of interject yourself in a situation you don't have all the facts about, that's not smart to me, So now Zepeda is out.
Right.
Who knows what can happen? This could blow up the whole operation, and I wouldn't be surprised if it does.
See, that's a good point. I think she went too far as to do whatever she did, which I might have missed, to get him exonerated.
Yeah,
right.
went above,
I do think she had a right to kind of dig a little bit deeper and find out information, because her partner or her boss, is he her partner or her boss? I don't know.
It seems like boss. It seems like he has a little bit of authority.
He's acting shady. So I probably would do the same thing. I'm a nosy girl too. I want to know what's going on.
No, I agree with you. She should have pried and found out more information about the case.
Yeah.
Because,
but not get him free.
Yeah, exactly. You know, put the brakes on it. You know, honestly, I was looking like, I think that she has a little bit of jealousy towards the relationship between him and Harley. She's always kind of cutting faces and stuff and looking at him, you know, looking at
when
Stahl.
Harley walked in, and then earlier she was like, "Oh, do you hold hands with your informants?"
Yeah.
With that little condescending tone. I'm like, okay, Molly Chen.
Yeah.
He, of course, had a witty retort, but you know, that's just kind of their dynamic. But I do see Molly Chen playing a big role in this, since she's already getting Miguel Zepeda exonerated. So she kind of went over his head, which I don't think Saul is going to take kindly to. So let's jump into the next subject. Of course, we see a suspect jump off a fire escape, or that's kind of what's implied. Yeah, they like doing that whole thing over there. And so once Tufo and Harley walk in the room, they see a man holding a gun, and basically he is Dr. Isaiah, and he appears to have illegal drugs. So of course they're not sure what his intentions are, but they find out later that he, of course, is giving drugs to people who do not have medical insurance and who need it because they don't have proper income or things like that. And so they've kind of gone under the law. And they also find out at the precinct that Saperstein was involved with this as well and was on Dr. Isaiah's speed dial. So now we also find out that Tufo gets involved a little bit later. But before we dig into that, what do you guys think about the whole message that they were trying to portray with that scene, as far as seeing this guy as a suspect or somebody bad when he may be doing it with good intentions?
I think they do that a lot, and throughout these episodes, they're it's kind of like a mind game. It's like you're trying to figure out what's good and what's bad, and to what extent do you cross that line. And I just don't know. I'm still, you know, my mom's a police officer, y'all know that. So it's just good is good to me. You know, if you're doing something that's bad or illegal, you can't do that, even if it's for the good of people. But I can see how Isaiah is the victim in this, but you know, it's still kind of skewed.
I think a lot of it has to do with intent, and I think on the show they really cause the characters to self-critique, and then the audience to critique the characters' decisions, because as we've seen, nothing is black and white, especially within the law. And I think that's why it's so interesting to watch a show like this, because a lot of other crime shows, you see definitive right and wrongs or yes and no's, because they wrap it up really pretty. But in this, that's why nothing ever seems to go the right way, because no one has a guideline or a rule book for what you should really do. So you have kind of a positive intent and you have a negative intent. And you see Stahl, I guess, trying to use his positive intent with Harley, that she's telling him the right story about Miguel Zepeda, and that he's going to be doing the right thing by keeping her and him apart. Whereas Chen sees it a different way, freeing a man who is wrongly convicted. So I don't know, it's interesting to get to watch these stories unfold, and I don't think we'll really know how it plays out until the final episode.
Do y'all think that they're showing us this to kind of work its way up to maybe clearing Sap's name, and then it goes back to who is the informant again? We're playing that cat and mouse game all over
and
again.
It's going to lead to Waz, because in my opinion he set the whole thing up, and if he has zero conscience regarding another man's life, who's also dedicated his own life to support his group, his crew. So to me, it's definitely going to all come back to Waz. They've got eyes on him from every angle. And speaking of that, let's talk about the whole, setup with the package in the trunk. We finally get to see that moment tonight. We see Donnie call Waz ahead of time and say switch vehicles. So of course Harley is wearing the necklace at the time. And as they're switching vehicles, Harley of course does a little, slight bend down and gets an image of the license plate to send to Stahl and Chen. And they get in the car and, of course, arrive to the location, and they see two guys kind of, there with a armed vehicle, or what appears to be so. So Waz, of course, gets freaked out and holds his gun up, and it seems to be that they're going to have a guns a-blazing moment. But, of course, Harley is the voice of reason and kind of doles it down, and Stahl is kind of saying in the back end as well, while Chen is telling him, you know, we need to go in, we need to infiltrate and get involved. But they decide to stay off because he has faith that Harley will disseminate the situation and basically calm everything down. So that was a crazy moment, and we find out that there is a kidnapped man in the back of the trunk, and he says that, you know, they threatened to kill his wife. So we're not really sure who this man is, but do you guys think he has anything to do with the drug cartel, or what do you think his involvement is in this case and episode?
First off, let me say, I just think this proves more and more that Waz is not as in charge as he thinks he is.
Right, good point.
He never knows what's going on with these big operations. I don't get it. And it just shows that Donnie is leading things, and he's not, I mean, is he really to be trusted? I don't know if Waz is being smart in trusting Donnie fully, because as you can see, he never goes into a situation like this that's huge with all the facts, with all the information. So he's blindsided. He has no idea this guy is going to be here. And that's, I don't know what Waz is setting up his crew for, because, you know, he might be getting everyone else involved in this bigger operation later on. I just don't think it's smart to be trusting Donnie like that.
Exactly. My first thing was like, why are we trusting Donnie?
Exactly.
He tried to pull out. I'm like, my first red flag went off, and I was just like, is he trying to set them up? Maybe to take the fall for all the corruption that they've all done and that he's been part of and stuff like that. That's the first thing that I was thinking. I was like, you're gonna call out and knew that there was a kidnapped man.
Yeah.
Really? And I'm sorry, if I was Harley, Stahl, I'm done. This is it. There's a man in the back of this truck. I am done. This is not what I came here for.
Yeah.
I just don't understand what's going on in these police officers. I'm gonna say that really loosely. Mind. I would have been walked away from this situation. I'm done. This is crazy.
Take me to jail.
Here, I got some stuff on y'all. This is crazy. Take me.
I think they're all Pump's pawns. I think that he's playing them all very strategically. And I think that we're going to come to see that even he is not kind of ruling the roost. I think there's someone else who's calling the shots. And something that stood out for me this episode, or potentially the recap of next episode, was Gail's involvement. Because we've not seen much of her yet. But the way we've seen corruption go with the show and the cops who have come up together, it'd be kind of interesting if they made her more of a pivotal role. Like, why are they investigating Waz in the first place? They haven't explained very well what made Gail kind of initiate this. So it would be interesting to see if she was actually kind of the ringleader, or
That's a great point. I would love that.
Because we haven't seen much of her. And I think she has more cards to play, because she's very adamant about getting all of them.
And then she would have control over Stahl, so that would be just a crazy twist, because then she kind of has her hands in both areas and can kind of control who's watching over her and always keep them a few steps ahead.
Right. We don't have a ringleader yet, which seems strange, because they bring us in to expect Waz as kind of the patriarch for that group, that family, and we really see that he's not in charge, and we don't know who is. So it'd be kind of interesting if they're using that hierarchy within the police or the government to show you who's really calling the shots.
Something.
Of course. And then we see Waz, speaking of him, leave to go find a lead after he sees this man kidnapped in the trunk, and he lets Harley watch the guy in his boat while he's still got his eyes covered and his hands wrapped. And Harley tries to appease his feelings and try to tell him, I am a good cop. I want to know who your wife is. I want to help you and keep everybody safe in this situation, since I didn't really want to be involved in this in the first place. So, of course, as soon as they get in the boat together, she's talking to him, and you see her hand him her gun. But she cocks it and, of course, drops out a few bullets, like the smart girl she is, because honestly, I jumped for a second there.
She is so quick on her feet, I don't get it.
Yeah. I feel like she's on her A game.
It's like she has someone writing it for her.
I know, right? What a concept.
Yes, very true. So then we see where Waz goes. Stahl walks in. So do you think that Waz saw Stahl's head and has kind of already been seeing this figure around, so he may be suspicious, or do you think it went right over him?
I don't think Waz knows anything about Stahl yet, personally.
Yeah,
I don't
he
think
has
so.
a lot going on.
As smart as he is, I don't think he is like seeing this
Yeah.
guy. So I don't know.
I don't think they would have left it as open-ended.
Yeah.
If it was going to be something that we see pursued in the next episode, because they're really good with giving you a little bit so we know what's to come. But I don't think he was established enough in that shot. I was hoping he would, though. I was hoping that there was going to be a face for recognition in the next couple of episodes, but they gave just a lot of the back of his head and maybe a little side of his face. But if we know the character well enough, he was so focused on just getting what answer he needed.
Right.
I think that's why Waz ruined so much of his surroundings, because he's just focused on the one thing. If you were paying more attention like Harley does,
Right, he's rushing to get the answer.
he'd realize this fool's been following me for about 6 blocks for 3 weeks.
3 weeks,
Right,
yeah.
right. It's a little strange that he's so aloof to those things, but that's why we're getting good TV.
It's strange that he's aloof. This man just walked into a meeting with some of the highest officials and drugged Donnie
Right,
out.
Excellent segue.
He
That's
is
what I
doing
was gonna get
anything
into.
he wants to do. It's
He's in
not
panic
strange.
mode.
I'm like, is that not a red flag right there? They're
Yeah.
like thinking, what is going on with Donnie? And no one said anything.
I
I'm
know.
like,
As
this
we
is
were
wild.
saying, that's
Like,
what I was
okay.
shocked too. He literally ripped the man out of his seat with cops, all around him. Or were they security personnel? Maybe they're
There
not.
was, I think it was the fire department and someone else trying to find funding, is what you can
Yeah,
hear in the
something like
background
that,
a little
yeah.
bit. You couldn't hear
Still,
a lot,
nobody helped or flew up. And, I'm thinking his emotions are so hot and heavy right now. The moment that he pushed Donnie in there, I'm like, oh boy, there's all this sexual tension, but furthermore, this anger that he feels towards this guy who's clearly, to me, playing him. I do think Donnie has bad intentions.
Yeah, especially when he came at him with the whole, I'm doing this for us, baby.
Yeah,
know,
anytime
that's
you
like,
hear
I
that
wanna
line,
be
it's
with
a red
him,
flag.
Come on, and Wiles was falling for it. He was like, oh, well.
All right, yeah. Interesting that
Good old
Donnie can appease to Waz, though, because I feel like he's very hard exteriored, so he doesn't really trust a lot of people. He's only showed kind of his soft side to maybe Linda at times, Harley, and Donnie.
Well, I think the timeline's interesting because I pay attention to a lot of the dialogue that they say, because I always feel like with shows like this, it comes back and he says we've been together for over a year, which will make me interested to see how long this job has been going or how long they've been investigating,
Right.
because it seems really convenient that within this year, now all of this is going down, that things are unraveling, and they've been doing it for, if Miguel Zapeda's been away for 8 years, over that, because that's when Waz, brought Harley into the crew. So it seems like a long time to pass without any sort of investigation. Now all of a sudden, within the year that Pomp and Waz have been together, all of a sudden now it's starting to unravel. Seems a little too convenient.
Yeah, these people all know how to play each other. Just like we see with Harley and Nava, and she, at
Good
the
old
end of the
Nava,
day,
though.
she's trying to figure out, how to keep Miguel in prison, so she gets with Nava. I feel like it's the same thing. Donnie knows how to get what he wants. Hey, Waz, come on over here. Let's get something going. And then later on, I'm going to use you and your crew, because that's how it goes. So they all know how the game goes.
That's so true. And speaking of Harley knowing what she wants, she decides to go and help the kidnappers, or the kidnappees, I should say, wife. And she basically walks up to this woman at some type of food cart, it appears, and says, NYPD, answer your phone. And of course, the wife is very alert. You can tell she's already been through a lot, so I'm sure she's looking for any help anywhere. And Harley walks ahead a few steps, and you see the woman behind her pick up the phone after Harley rings it. And basically, they discuss the plan. What we're going to do is we're going to help you. You need to tell me what happens next. This is a phone with only my contact in it, so call me as soon as you get a lead. And so Harley seems to be a few steps ahead, and I'm not sure exactly if she's informing Waz or anybody else of this help. Who was with her when she was near the food cart? Wasn't there
Stahl.
Stahl.
It was
Yeah.
Saul, yeah.
Okay, so Stahl knows about it, but Waz doesn't. So I'm not sure if Waz is even concerned for her well-being. Probably
I
not.
don't think so.
He's got bigger fish to fry at the moment. So what did you guys think of that scene, and do you think she will get the help she needs?
I have a bad feeling about this. The guy is still at the marina. He's still in the boat or whatever. So we don't even know how that's going to go down later on. We don't know how that's going to lead, what it's going to lead to. And did Harley even go at the very end? Did she even go to check on him? Or was that just like a diversion type thing?
Well, Waz said that he was going to go check in on him.
Yeah.
But I think I
Man.
think that we see with her character, and then the preview for next week, that she's going to be in control of the armored car with the government money
Okay.
that they're pursuing. That's the only connection I can make with that character and what she does, because she's part of the armored car service, and I think we're going to see both of them get away. If we know the show, they're not going to just hurt someone victimless.
There's more to come.
Right.
Because their intention is to try and keep everyone safe and happy. So I'll be shocked if God bless him if someone finally dies, though. I mean, it is a cop show, so
Loman don't die.
build a little tension.
I know, that is so true. So on a side note, we see Tufo going through all of his internal demons as well, seeing Saperstein die. It was a
Externally,
friend.
he is dramatic this episode.
Yeah, he was going through it. And so we actually see him go into a church, and it appears he's going for some consolation. But really, he ends up pulling out his badge and saying, "Give me the illegal drugs." And of course, I think he decides to go the other way after hearing the story, or realizing that, you know, your conscience may not always match with the letter of the law, as they said. So what seems to be the right choice may not be in line with what is actually legal. And that's definitely shown a lot in this show, you know, definitely.
Yeah.
So what did you guys think about Tufo's contribution there, and how he also said to Dr. Isaiah later, "I will be your Saperstein from now on"? Will this guy come into play later, or is he kind of just a way to show that some of these guys have a conscience?
Yeah, I think I read it. I don't think that will play a huge role to come, but I do think it was interesting throwing that in, and the fact that none of the other crew members even knew Saperstein was dealing with this guy. They had no idea about the situation, and it just proves that they all have things going on that none of them even know about. The others don't know about. And they all have these multifaceted lives and all of these different layers as to what's going on, what they're involved in that may not be completely legal, but that they think is right, or maybe they're involved in things that are wrong. We don't know. But it just shows that they have so many things going on behind the scenes. And also, I found it interesting that Tufo was kind of skeptical for these last couple episodes about Saperstein and being the rat, and he was disappointed, and it was his best friend. But I got out of this episode that he realized at the end of the day Saperstein had good intentions, and that maybe he should take over in helping this guy. So I like to see that.
That's a good point, because in the church he does mention that this guy may not have been the man he originally knew. And so now that he sees that Dr. Isaiah and the church had a good involvement, that his friend may not be the villain he painted him out to be.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Tufo kind of went on a mission to clear his name without, you know, within their group of family.
Yeah.
As I say that so loosely, because they don't know anything about anything.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, but yeah, that I think they put that in there just to show us that you need to dig deeper, and they all need to dig deeper and figure out what the heck is going on. I'm like, do they run background checks on police officers in New York? Because these people, I do not want them protecting me.
Yes.
Depends on what side you're playing, because you might want them
You might
protected,
need 'em.
right? But I think that's a good point to the doctor and kind of how Tufo feels, and I think he was brought in to conclude that turmoil that he had over Sap's death. I don't think we'll see him again, but I do agree that I think we'll see Tufo kind of looking back and reflecting on the Sap he knew. And I think we will see more, because again, that's another story. We saw a little bit more of Tess in a few episodes past. Tufo we still don't know a lot about, so this might be where he gets introduced to do some good.
Yeah, and the other one, who's the one Tess was messing around with? We don't know.
Espada.
Espada. We don't know a lot about Espada either. So I'm still interested to see what his connection is with all of this.
Yeah, we get tidbits here and there with all the characters, which I really like. And we think we've kind of hit a pivotal role when tonight Waz and Harley discuss that there's going to be no more secrets between them. But of course, Harley's going to have to go back on her word because she wants to wear a wire. And when she sees Donnie and Waz go into a room to discuss their little upcoming deal, she, you know, has to exit because he tells her, you know, get out of here, basically. And when she leaves, Stahl, of course, calls and says, you need to get in there. This is going to be your saving grace, so do what you need to do. So Harley thinks on her feet and, of course, walks back in, delivers some papers that need to be signed, which says also check the boat. So it kind of seems like a secret message to Waz, not for Donnie, so they kind of have their own little secret bond. But then she also slips her little necklace wire into the trash, which kind of incriminates Waz and Donnie in their, you know,
Love
illegal activity and love affair as well. So that was kind of a crazy moment.
That was huge.
I thought that was neat how they did it. Honestly, I thought that was one of the first times in the series that I thought that is good thinking. Like that was just, she knew how to get in there, how to take care of it, and then we get to see how it will progress into the next episode, because sometimes I feel like it's just a little too like loose. How are you getting there? How do you know this?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And so for her to take it in there, and then we get to see her find out about Waz and Pomp, and I was
What did you think about her reaction?
She didn't know at all.
She had no. I don't think
women
she
have
knew.
a little inkling.
I don't think she knew. I don't think she knew.
Her face said otherwise. Her face said, "I didn't know this was."
I don't think she knew.
They don't know anything about each other.
I think they were shocked, and they seemed like they were having a big moment in there, like, I love you and I will do whatever it
Everyone on that
takes.
show is so horny. I'm telling you, like, Chen, Espada, Tess. Like, seriously, they all, I'm just like, you guys all need to get in a room together because you would all be a lot happier and less stressed out because they're all mad at each other all the time.
So secretive.
Well, they are.
Yeah.
But wait, so do you think it's going to be hard now, or well, probably not for Harley because she's so quick on her feet and she hides things so easily, but I would have difficulty hiding the fact that I know this huge aspect of Waz now and he doesn't know that I know. You know, because when he had this initial conversation with Harley about, you know, no more secrets, and he first tells her that Donnie's the one who's been in charge and all of these things. He doesn't tell her that they've been, you know, dating or whatever they are. So she finds out completely separately, and that's another secret that he's been holding, and now she knows. So is she going to use that somehow, or is she just kind of going to wait till he tells her? I don't know.
She's going to avoid it.
You think she's gonna avoid it?
Yes. I don't think she'll say anything. Yeah. As soon as he starts eating a hot dog, she'll walk out of the room. She will.
I'm dead. Stop.
You're so bad.
I'm done with this.
She is not gonna. No. Why would she? She has.
Maybe later though, when he's lying to her, she'll be like, "Oh, are there any other things you've been meaning to tell me?"
I think she's gonna avoid it like the plague.
I don't. I think women hold on to their secrets, and when the right moment comes, it's like, here it is. I got the facts, and I'm ready to take it down.
Oh, so you were out with your boys? Okay, well, this text message that I
at 2:54 a.m. Okay.
You would think that. Besides, I think he already proved that he's not hiding it in a way that he wouldn't admit to it, because he does during his altercation with Raul, right? Raul?
Yeah.
And so I don't think they would use it that way, because for him, he'd just admit to it. I think it's more not hiding it as an aspect of who he is, but the relationship with that person.
Right.
It's kind of the same way that Harley was with the ADA, that they were sneaking around not because she's keeping her straight sexual orientation,
right?
And I think you have to do that. It's
mixing
business.
Also,
conflict of interest, but
Waz is married too, so
if anything, I could see her introducing it because of Linda. That's really the only thing that I could see it being addressed for. But
maybe
otherwise,
that was why she made that face.
Yeah,
you know,
and also
he's married.
Yeah,
and she's close to her somewhat from what we see.
Yeah. No, well, Waz did allude to his relationship with Johnny when he was talking to Harley.
Oh, he did.
He was like,
I missed it then.
She's like, why are you don't know what he's into? Why are you trusting him? He's like, well, you don't know him like I do. Well, none of us know him like you do. So I don't know if he's getting I think his judgment is getting clouded from that relationship. And that's probably exactly what Donnie, you had such a great point, Brandon, when you said Donnie might be like the mastermind and trying to set them up, maybe run off with the money. You don't know, where he's at. And
he's just playing his cards right.
Yeah. But that's how I think that Linda's going to be introduced. I've been thinking about it now that we're so far into the season.
You think she's going to be a player, a major player?
No, I think that there's going to be some interaction with her and Harley, and I think the sexual orientation thing is going to come out, and I think Linda will already know.
Right.
I think that she's very, like Johndeep says,
of course
she's very intuitive, and I think that's when she's going to get kind of pulled into some of their more criminal activity, because I think Harley's going to kind of go to her to try and figure out what needs to be done, like how can we redeem ourselves from this, and I think that's when we're going to realize that Pomp's not in it for the long haul.
Right. That is such a good point, especially because at the beginning of the episode when Waz walks into the office and he's got dirt on his back and Harley asks where he's been, he's like, oh, why? Did Linda call? So it sounds like she's kind of the inquiring type of wife, and I think that'll come into play later. And speaking of spouses, we have Harley's ex, Miguel Zepeda, finally receiving a letter from the district attorney exonerating him from prison. And of course, his face is totally shocked when the woman walks in and he's laying there in his prison bed in his orange jumpsuit, and he is ready to sign off to his freedom. And he says, what am I going to pursue first? So with that, let's get into a little bit of predictions.
Oh my gosh.
And now,
Molly Chen, what did you do?
AfterBuzz TV.
What did you do, girl?
So let's start with Mira.
I'm going to say that things are going to get a little sticky once Stahl and Molly start to investigate Donnie a little bit more. Because Harley kind of mentioned the fact that, hey, you might want to look into Pomp because she found out that he might be the ringleader. So I think that might divert the attention away from Waz for a little bit, not that much, but just enough to take heat off of that situation and introduce a new story and figure out what Donnie's into and who he's working with and what this big operation is. And Miguel, oh my gosh. Christina, the previews for next week look crazy.
Yes.
So much.
Okay. I feel like I was thinking, and I was trying to think of my prediction. And
You always call me out all the time. Like, I can't.
No, I was thinking while she was talking, I was like, well, I was thinking Stahl's gonna get some flack with all of this dropping the ball with the whole Zepeda
Right.
thing,
Good point.
him kind of getting off of his game with the whole trying to move closer to Harley, and I think that's gonna come around. We're gonna
circle,
see,
huh?
yeah, exactly what's gonna happen with his whole stalkerish tendencies toward
Yeah.
Harley. So yeah, I'm interested to see Stahl get his ass handed to him.
Well, you just did. I've been giving my predictions. Right, I hope they're quick on that buzzer. I've been giving my predictions all recap, but I think the only thing that we're going to see different here is I think that we might see Miguel trying to help Harley in whatever situation she's in, only to realize she's the one who framed him. So I think we're going to see some relationship building between them, because when Antonio Jaramillo was here,
Yes.
Look at that, I did it.
Hello.
Okay.
See, when you weren't thinking about it, just flew off the tongue.
When he was here, he said that he hoped that they would have a good relationship,
Yeah.
Christina and Miguel. And I think that we'll see that, and I think that it's going to start the bond with Harley then, and I think we're going to see an abrupt break in that when he finds out that she was the one who framed him. So he has too much at stake in the last few episodes. Now getting out, they can't really just send him on his way, so he's got to play a role somewhere.
Right. But I wouldn't, to piggyback off of yours, I wouldn't be surprised that just because his relationship with Christina, him trying to get close to her, that he still might protect Harley even after finding out that she framed him. I would not be surprised. And just the type he seems like he really has changed. I don't know.
I wonder if he thinks Harley helped get him out, even though it was Molly Chen. Since he did ask her, please get me out, and the last thing he's kind of heard is he saw a visit from Stahl, but he hasn't really seen anybody since. But little did we know Molly Chen came to save the day.
Molly Chen getting in the way.
Molly!
She needs to be punished.
Yeah, she's stirring up the pot over there. I totally agree with you guys. I think Christina is going to come into play. We see that in the preview. So as soon as she gets involved, then Harley is going to get involved. So is Waz, since he's kind of helped cover it up as well. And I also think with the U.S. government dollars being in that armed vehicle, that's going to be a big red flag. I mean, now you're going after government money as if there's not enough heat on your booty. Just make it a little bit worse. So we have a lot to look forward to next week. So let's finish up with a little news and gossip.
AfterBuzz TV.
I was waiting for those sound effects.
Yes.
Okay, so Loman does an impressive Barack Obama impersonation on the TV Guide video, so check that out because Barack Obama impressions are always very funny. Drea de Mateo stopped by Good Day LA and mentioned she was a little bit nervous working or talking back to boss J-Lo because they're both from New York, so they're both tough. They're the Bronx girls and stuff. She also tweeted trying to promote Shades of Blue, but ended up promoting mine and Michael Delvin's fan-made engagement video from the summer.
Congrats.
Aww. Is he on the show? He's not on the show.
No, he's not on the show.
Hey, there's so many people.
He's Joe.
And
Joe.
Jennifer Lopez on NBC Today on Monday. Oh, no, she's going to be on NBC Today on Monday with a sit-down with Matt Lauer. And admits that she has a lot of irons in the fire. Of course you do, girl. You got a concert, CDs, perfume. You can throw some of them fires this way. I mean, if you need some help. So yeah, and you can still tweet at JLo in Shades of Blue, and they actually tweet back. I think that's really, really cool. So y'all should do that.
I saw tonight that Ryan Seacrest live tweets the entire thing.
He
I
does,
think some of the other
yeah.
cast members do.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a lot of work outside of the show you see them doing. Like I saw on Wendy, JLo said she has over 20 perfumes now. Ryan has the radio show American Idol. They're all doing a lot of work, and I think they're doing a really good job.
I know, not even sleeping, I feel like. Bless their soul.
I need to get my game up.
Yes, we
Work
be booking
harder.
these
I'm
jobs
already
too.
tired.
I know, we need a hustle over here. Well, thank you guys so much for catching up with us. You can catch us same time, same place next week. Be sure to download us on iTunes, YouTube, rewatch on NBC. I'm your host, Samantha Benitez. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Samantha_Benitez. And to my left,
I'm Miara Jennings, and you can tweet me on. Okay. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miara Jennings. Thanks, guys.
I'm Erica J. Green. That's Erica Jaye Green, and you can find me on all social media.
I'm Brandon Marlowe. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at BAMARLO.
I gotta give Brandon 40.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.